Tracey Lawrence, President of Heis, Surety and Insurance Services, and I have the privilege of being the host for this episode of Ops for Vets. We have a great lineup for you today, and we want to encourage you to listen in, take some notes, ask some questions, because we are encouraging small businesses from the beginning to the end. Um, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Chad Wright. Chad Wright is a business outreach liaison with the California Department of General Services. Outreach liaison at California Department of General Services, Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprises. In his role, he educates business owners about the benefits and the opportunities of pursuing your small business certification, your DVBE certification, and contract opportunities. And contract opportunities. With the state of California. Chad has more than 25 years of experience of working with labor management trust funds in the construction industry. Most recently, he was the director of a multi-state marketing trust fund and was charged with developing business relationships with local government and business stakeholders, promoting organizational and industry value, and enacting marketing programs and recruitment campaigns. Before I turn it over to Chad, I'd like to give you some information. So we're going to hear from Chad first, and then I get to have a one-on-one conversation with Keyshawn Cupid of Modern Kaizen. He's a veteran-owned business, and we're going to talk about how things are going with his business, what he'd like to share with you about his product offerings, and his words of encouragement for those of you that are here. Before I dive in, I have an announcement that I need to make, and we're excited. We're excited to announce the return of the DGS Cal eProcure Clinic at the 14th Annual Veteran and Small Business Trade Show. It's a personalized, hands-on workshop, one-of-a-kind opportunity to sit across from an expert to get guidance directly from DGS outreach instructors. You'll get the chance to have your certification profile reviewed, learn how to optimize it so that you can maximize state contracting success and discover new ways to connect with the procurement opportunities. Whether you're just starting your certification journey or you're looking to sharpen your profile, the DGS Clinic is the place to be. I'm asking that you let us know that you're there in the chat. We want to know who you are, what's the name of your business, and where you're tuning in from. I'm going to be doing some shout outs along the way and saying, hey, and thanks, taking questions, of course. And with that, it's time for me to welcome Chad. Chad Wright, welcome to Ops for Vets.
All right. Thank you so much, Tracy, for the introduction. I appreciate the time of all of you that are participating and joining us today. So again, my name is Chad Wright, and welcome to Contracting with California State Government. Tracy gave you my short bio there, but I am a business outreach liaison with the OSDS. And instead of saying Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services, we just like to shorten things with our acronyms at the state, OSDS. So here you have my contact information. I will share it again at the end of the presentation. So we've got a decent amount of material to cover in my presentation time, so let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about obviously how the state buys, different acquisition methods, and leverage, including leverage procurement agreements, and the different types of solicitation formats. Going to have Q&A breaks throughout the presentation, so throw it in the chat, as Tracy said, and we will try to get those questions answered as we roll through. So how the state buys. So when the state buys a good or service, the process is obviously very different than we as individuals buy in our everyday lives, and probably different than how you as a small business buy. We can think about what we want to buy, and we go to the store or go online and make that call, at the moment. Obviously, the process for the state is completely different because the state is buying public funds and the taxpayers, rightfully so, want to make sure that these dollars are being well spent, and the process for spending these funds is fair for businesses that want to pursue state contracts. So various rules, laws, regulations have been created to achieve all of that. And what has resulted are distinct, specific processes for purchasing goods and services that we call the procurement process. There are many norms in common. There are many norms in common procurement processes, but there are many exceptions to these norms. So you're going to hear a lot of "it depends," or if you ask a very specific question, if you're going to get "I don't know," because it's going to depend on that individual solicitation or that purchase that the state is trying to make. So you're going to have to look at the contract. So so knowing how the state buys is going to help you position your business to get more opportunities with the state. So let's give you some education here. So there are a few parts to the procurement process that the buyer must follow. A, does this department have the authority to purchase it? Does it have the need? Okay, it's got to justify the purchase, and it's going to have the authority to be able to make that purchase. The state departments and agencies often have a cap as to how much they can buy without going back to DGS to get more purchase power. Because ultimately, Department of General Services is the ultimate buyer for the state of California. It has granted that purchase authority to different departments and agencies throughout the state of California, within limitations typically. And obviously, we're going to be talking about the acquisition method that is going to be used to purchase. So an acquisition method oftentimes is going to dictate a solicitation, the format of the solicitation, whether that's a request for offer or an RFP. Acquisition methods we're talking about, like maybe a fair and reasonable or leverage procurement agreement or SB options, and I'll cover all of these through my presentation. So the acquisition method and solicitation formats are a little bit more complicated. So we're going to really kind of get into those topics. So as I just kind of alluded to, we have formal and informal competitive acquisitions, SB or DVB option, fair and reasonable, emergency contracting, and leverage procurement agreements. So the acquisition method is, that's just how the state buys. And it is determined by many factors. Okay, what they are purchasing, how much money they are spending, what their purchasing authority is, and I've kind of already touched on that, and what contracts already exist, if any. Because sometimes the state has already got contracts to buy a good or service from businesses. So that buyer, that state agency, has to go back to that. They can't just open it up every time for a new purchase or a new contract. So let's get started with this formal and informal competitive bidding. So the competitive acquisition is a common method used to purchase IT goods, IT services, non-IT goods, and non-IT services, kind of four categories that we have. As the name suggests, it's competitively bid, but it follows a procurement process of identifying the department need and developing the solicitation. It is typically advertised in Cali Procure or within Cali Procure. There's a California State Contract Register. So advertised solicitations live in there in that portion of Cali Procure. It's got to be there for at least 10 days, typically more. But if it is advertised, businesses with a UNSPSC in their registration profile or notification profile that matches the UNSPSC on the solicitation, you're going to get notified via an automated email. So that's why it's really important for you to have a good notification profile and have some good UNSPSC codes in there. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I schedule a consultation. We'll walk you through that kind of one-on-one. Buyers also can reach out directly to businesses with a competitive solicitation. And that would then require you to have a good information in your certification profile, having good keywords and having good UNSPSC codes in your certification profile, two profiles that you have in Cali Procure, as a certified business. So if a buyer's trying to find you, that's going to be important for you to have good keywords and UNSPSC codes. So when we're talking formal and informal, kind of the informal are those that are of low value, of low risk, very simple purchases, and they could actually even be a verbal or phone call to businesses to request an offer. And then if the formal competitive bid is going to be more complex purchases, higher value, and are going to be written, and which is going to be an invitation for bid or an RFP. So are kind of the two that we're talking about. So now SB DVB option. This is a great one for certified folks, for certified businesses, because this is exclusive to small businesses, certified small businesses, and certified disabled veteran businesses. As you can see here, you can see that the contract thresholds for those. So if you're a public works contractor, you've got a little bit more room in terms of the contract value, but typically between $5,000 and $250,000 for SB options or DVB options. And they require at least two quotes from two certified small businesses or two certified DVBEs. They can't get one quote from an SB and one quote from a DVBE because of the different contract values and the incentives baked into SB options and DVB options. The numbers would be skewed a little bit. So, so the buyer could reach out to 20 or 30 different businesses, as certified small businesses or certified DVBEs, and so long as they receive two responsive quotes back, they can just take the lowest. They don't have to advertise in Cali Procure. They can be reaching out and knocking on your business door to get a quote. So this again goes back to having a good certification profile in Cali Procure, good keywords, good UNSPSCs. Fair and reasonable. This is another great one for small businesses because these are for contracts under $10,000. And fair and reasonable is a very simple, very straightforward acquisition method. Buyer only needs to get one bid that they determine to be fair and reasonable. Now, there are multiple things that buyer has to do to validate that number, that quote, to be fair and reasonable. They're looking at price comparisons, they're looking at market pricing, or if there is controlled pricing set by a law or regulation through a master agreement or a statewide contract. And historical pricing, have we purchased it for this similar price in the past, and then making our adjustments based on inflation, that kind of thing. So it's not just, yeah, it sounds good. The buyer has to really validate, that is a fair and reasonable offer. So again, awarded to the lowest bidder. So this again goes back to have a good certification profile in Cali Procure with good keywords, good UNSPSCs, but also this contract is awarded to the lowest bidder, and again, it only takes one bidder to reply. So you want to be responsive when that buyer, the procurement agent, reaches out, and you know that you have an interest in it. Be responsive as quickly as possible, because if you come in with a good number, maybe that number is fair and reasonable, and they don't have to keep looking and trying to find a quote from more buyers or more vendors, excuse me. Okay, here is another acquisition method that is pretty important in government contracting, and in particular, obviously here in California, because we are very familiar with our natural disasters that we have with fires and floods and earthquake, and the the national and global pandemic emergency that we went through several years ago. But emergencies also include, a plumbing leak in a building, in a state building. So that's obviously that's an emergency. Um, because the state has to act quickly. This is not a competitive bid, option. This is, nothing is going to be advertised. The state is reaching out to businesses immediately and awarding contracts to those businesses that can provide a service. And to support the inclusion of small businesses and disabled veteran businesses into emergency contracting several years ago, the state created an emergency registry, SBDVB Emergency Registry. It is actually separate from Cali Procure, but it is used by buyers and agencies to find businesses that are ready and willing and able to support the state in emergency contracting. Buyers look for businesses when the emergency strikes, and maybe beforehand, so they have those businesses in the queue ready to reach out. And again, only certified businesses can be in this emergency registry. And it includes kind of like a category of services that are, that you can think of here. When a road slide happens and the road's washed away, and now we got to, do that repair or repair that guardrail or whatever the case may be, or if there's, cleanup from a fire or natural disaster, base camp operations, all kinds of different categories. Okay. But you got to be able to do one of those. So when you are getting signed up in the emergency registry, you're going to need to provide your certification number, your Cali Procure small business certification number, your DVBE certification number. You're going to have to choose your categories that you're working in. You're going to have to provide some detail about the products and services that you do provide. Okay. You can provide your business address, because obviously sometimes in an emergency situation, locality is key. So they're going to be reaching out to businesses in their geographic area that can, be there in an hour when that plumbing leak happens. And obviously you're going to have to provide some contact information. You're going to need to provide your 9 to 5 phone number, and you're going to need to provide your 5 to 9 phone number. Okay. You're going to have that Saturday and Sunday phone number. I mean, if you don't answer the phone between 5 and 9, do not sign up in the emergency registry, please. Okay. Now the emergency registry is not your only vehicle to getting into emergency contracting with the state, but this registry is just a tool for buyers to help find small and disabled veteran businesses. Okay, so if you aren't in the registry, you could still do emergency contracting work. It's just a tool to help buyers find you. So you can get started in the registry by going to the DGS website. And if you did just a search in the toolbar for emergency contracting or emergency registry, you'll find us. Or go into Cali Procure, the resources tab, and that drop down and go to selling to the state. And that's actually going to redirect you back to the DGS website, which is going to give you some information, and you'll log in and create a new account in the emergency registry. And with that, I'm going to take a break. Do we have any questions that I could try to answer
We
now,
do.
Tracey? Okay.
We do. We have 1 or 2 questions right now. One of the questions is, how do you recommend a small business or DBBE business market to procurement departments to let them know that we're here for the SBDVBE option, or that we want to be on their radar for that?
Okay, yeah, and you could always schedule yourself a one-on-one consultation. I'll have a QR at the end. You've got my email as well. There's me or any one of my coworkers can help you navigate this process. But there are small business advocates with each department and agency that spends $100,000 or more a year. And that advocate, although they wear multiple hats, have multiple responsibilities, they are your connecting point to getting work with that department and agency. but also in having, so on the DGS website, you can do a, small business advocate search, and you'll find the tool to review who they are with each different department. But also, and having, I've had conversations with multiple advocates, and their key to me was making sure you've got a good Cali Procure profile, making sure you've got those keywords in there and you've got those UNSPSC codes in there as well. So having a good certification profile, that BRAT profile that is publicly viewable. So when they go in there and they search, you're gonna come up in their search results. Okay, be generous in what you're doing, and don't think, oh, maybe I shouldn't include that. If you do it, include it in your Cali Procure profile. Don't hesitate.
Okay, everyone. That's on our to-do list, right? Okay. And we have one more question. Where do we go to join the small SBDBBE emergency registry?
Okay, the DGS website. The last slide there. You just go to DGS website. Just do a search in a toolbar for emergency registry, and it'll redirect you to the page. I don't know what the page URL is off the top of my head, but it's very long and whatever it is. But just type in emergency registry, and one of those first hits will be what you're looking for. Or
Yeah.
Cali Procure. Go to Cali Procure, and you can find it there as well.
Okay. All right, guys,
All right.
and ladies out there, let's make sure that if we're capable of doing work after hours and on the weekends, that we make sure we get ourselves in that small SBDVBE emergency registry. We want to take every opportunity that's available to us.
That's right.
I don't have any other questions. I
All
encourage
right.
you out there, keep feeding us questions. Chad's here and he wants to keep us on the path.
All right. So let's keep ourselves on time here as well. So now we've talked about some I don't say the normal acquisition methods, but then here are kind of special acquisition methods that the state has, which are known as leverage procurement agreements. These are agreements between the state and businesses, and one or more businesses to sell specific goods or services typically upon for agreed upon pricing, requirements, and terms and conditions, so the state can buy those products and services as needed. They're not having to create a whole new solicitation and then, because these are some things that they're buying on a regular basis or sometimes on an emergency basis. They want to have an agreement in hand to get to work. As you can see here, these agreements are awarded for $0 because they basically just set up the framework to allow the business to sell their products and services to the state or for the state to purchase from those said businesses. And these leverage procurements may be available to counties, cities, and schools. So any other government agency within the state, not a state government, so the county of San Diego or the county of or city of whatever could utilize a leverage procurement agreement. So you may want to look at these and do a little bit of research and figure out, okay, would these fit my business model? So, but basically LPAs enable streamline purchases by removing, the repetition, costly, time consuming solicitation processes. Let's get moving on in here and talk about the different types of LPAs. And again, you can do a little bit of research on LPAs, Cali Procure, Cali Procure, Cali Procure. All right. For almost everything with state contracting is found in Cali Procure. So, under the resources tab or the quick links tab in Cali Procure, you can do a little bit of research on those leverage procurement agreements that currently exist. Okay. You can also even do a little bit of research in Skippers on LPAs and which ones are being awarded, et cetera. So we'll get through these here. So master agreements are contracts They are competitively bid when established, and they are advertised in Cali Procure. So if you have good UNSPSC codes in your profile, and they tag the buyer has to tag a master agreement with a UNSPSC code, you'll get that automated email that, hey, there's a master agreement that maybe you've got an opportunity for. So, or a buyer could, solicit offers, or from businesses in Cali Procure. So again, it behooves you to have a robust certification profile and a robust notification profile in Cali Procure. Master agreements can be awarded to multiple businesses, but it depends on the contract and whether multiple awards are appropriate. If there are multiple awards, it's going to be notified in the solicitation, obviously. But if there are multiple awards as well, the agreement may allow the buyer to just connect with one of those vendors that are, pre-screened, essentially, to have that had that master agreement. Or the master agreement may require offers, and if it requires offers, then that kind of creates another level of competition. And the when it requires an offer, it's typically going to require 3 offers to make sure that it's truly competitive. And these are available to any agency that expends public funds. So master agreements. And here are some samples of master agreements. And I did a little bit of research on my own. And earlier last month, I think it was well over 350, almost 400 different active master agreements that the state has. And they were tending to be mostly IT services. Okay, just to kind of give you an idea. I mean, not all of them, but it was a good percentage of them were IT services. Now, statewide contracts. Statewide contracts are another LPA, obviously, and they are competitively bid and for commonly purchased goods, sort of those tangible items. They are often done as single awards. Sometimes there's multiple. And these are usually mandatory for state departments to use. So when we're looking at, okay, several slides ago, when the state said, okay, I've got to buy, we need this product. Okay, first they need to check, is there a statewide contract for the item that we have to abide by and use that statewide contract? If not, then they would go out to competitive solicitation or SB option or whatever the other case may be. However, if there is a statewide contract, there is what's known as an SB DVB off ramp, and this allows that department or agency to purchase the equivalent or product at the same or lower price from certified small businesses or DVBEs, even if they don't have that statewide contract, so long as that agency or that vendor meets the requirements of the statewide contract, and the prices are the same and the products are the same, and then that allows that agency to use what's known as an SB DVB option. And just to, since the statewide contracts tend to be for goods, these contracts may also include like ancillary services for like the installation or maintenance of those goods that are being purchased. So here are some samples of different statewide contracts. And as of early February, there were more than 380 statewide contracts, and 117 of the 381 statewide contracts were with certified businesses, about 30%. So you can get an idea of your opportunity with statewide contracts. SLPs, okay, now these are completely different. Software licensing program is a negotiation agreement between a software publisher and the state, essentially. So it's completely different. Since they are negotiated, there is no solicitation for businesses to respond to, and nothing is advertised in these. Additionally, the publisher of the software does not sell to the state. Instead, they use resellers. So the state knows they need to use this certain software, and they come into a negotiation, into an agreement with that software publisher. Okay, now, Mr. Publisher, Mrs. Publisher, you need resellers. We need at least 3 resellers, 3 to 6 resellers typically is where we are. And then that reseller sells the product, obviously, to the state. So there is no agreement. So the agreement is typically between the reseller and the publisher, right? Does that make sense? So, and the publisher can make changes as to who those resellers are throughout the life of the agreement up to twice a year. So when the state uses the SLP agreement to purchase software from a reseller, they must get at least 3 offers. And so making it competitive against those 3 resellers. So if only one of those businesses responds, or they only get one response on that purchase, the state could go through with the purchase. They just have to justify it. Okay. So if there are any software publishers that want to get their own SLP agreement, they need to contact the SLP office. And you can see the contact information, email address, and phone number for SLPs. So, all right. So SLPs are, businesses have the SLP as resellers. So you can see, there's selling software such as, like Adobe or DocuSign or whatever different types of products that are being resold. And there are about 750 current SLPs that the state has. And so software licensing programs do not include, since it is software, obviously it doesn't include hardware, doesn't include consultation or telecom. Those are different. So it is actually just for the program themselves. All right, moving on to cooperative agreements. So I talked a few slides ago about master agreements. Cooperative agreements are kind of a multi-state master agreement. So it's a multi-state contracts where multiple states may join together to achieve cost-effective and efficient acquisition of products and services. And cooperative agreements are established from competitively bid master agreements. Okay, they are advertised in Cali Procure. So again, you want to make sure you've got a good Cali Procure profile. But the cooperative agreements, since it is a multi-state agreement, if the state of California is not the holder of the master agreement, maybe it's the state of Nevada or Utah or Colorado or Pennsylvania or Florida, I don't know, whoever is part of the cooperative agreement. If it is advertised in CSCR, basically it's going to have you register when you see a notification or advertised in Cali Procure. It's basically going to have you redirect to that state's procurement portal, and you're going to have to follow that state's procurement process. Okay, you could still be awarded, even if it's an out of state in your business here in California, you could be awarded that cooperative agreement. A nice thing about the cooperative agreement, though, is it does include resellers. So a reseller is a business, they don't necessarily hold the cooperative agreement themselves, but they have been identified and authorized as a reseller by a business that does hold that cooperative agreement. The business that holds the agreement makes all the decisions about becoming a reseller. The state does not play any role in selecting a reseller. It's just like the SLP, the state has no control over who the resellers are. That is up to those that hold the agreement. Um, and so the agreement holder can change resellers based on the terms of the agreement. I mean, again, that it's up to the details. The devil's in the details when it comes to the agreements, how often they're changing those resellers. And of course, these cooperative agreements, like master agreements, can be used by local entities as well. And cooperative agreements tend to constitute IT goods, where master agreements, where there's a lot of IT services, cooperative agreements tend to be a lot of IT goods. There's kind of the converse on them. So it's still IT related, but one's for goods, one's for services typically. And about 75% of cooperative agreements are for IT goods. Okay, now the biggest one of them all is the California multiple award schedules. And again, these are available to state agencies and local governments to purchase products and services. So getting a CMAS does not involve competitive bidding or negotiation, and instead requires a business to apply for a schedule. And the schedule contains a list of goods or services, and there are many, many, many different types of schedules, but they are maintained and created by the federal government. So California simply mirrors the federal program to create the California Multiple Award CMAS, California Multiple Award Schedule. The schedule is going to contain a pre-established pricing and terms and conditions. So to become a holder of a schedule, a business must apply. A business does not have to sell everything listed on the schedule or provide all the services listed on that schedule. They just need to make sure they have at least one of the products or services on that schedule, and they meet the requirements of the schedule, obviously, as well. Because this is an application process, multiple businesses can hold and do hold the same schedule. So that kind of creates a pool of suppliers that the state can solicit offers from. Again, creating competition. And so, that competition typically is going to provide the state a better value purchase. And we got to be good stewards of the taxpayer money. So if you are a holder of a schedule, you want to make sure that you treat this like it's a regular competitive solicitation. Okay, that's really important for you to be aware of. So pricing is key. So obviously, you provide a better price, you increase the likelihood of being awarded the offer. Okay, so CMAS. They are by far the most common of leverage procurement agreements. I mean, they account for more than half of all LPAs, and currently there's about 2,700 active CMAS agreements with this state. So you can get an idea of what the CMAS includes here by what's listed. Obviously, you can also see some things that are not included. Lots of services are not part of CMAS. So if you are interested in applying, go to the CMAS portal. You got to create your account and apply for a CMAS. All right, you're going to want to check probably the GSA to see if there is a schedule, if there is something for you in the CMAS, to do a little bit of background research. But when you are going to apply, you're going to have that schedule you want. You're going to have to go to the GSA and identify, okay, there is a schedule, there is something there for that product or service that I want. I know what that schedule is. Now I'm going to apply for that schedule. So you got to do a little bit of research on that GSA schedule. You're going to have to provide, some basic contact information to apply. Okay, so if you contractor's license, if it applies, seller's permit, if you have one, etc. So you can get an idea of what you're going to need to apply. So you just, again, go to the GSA e-library and find out what is there for you, if there is something for you. So I've talked about lots of different acquisition methods. Now what I want to do is show you how to do a little bit of research on LPAs. Okay, so you can, at least on the active ones. And again, I referenced it, Skippers. If you aren't familiar with Skippers, Skippers is another tool in Cali Procure, which is a historical database. So of those solicitations, those offers that have already been awarded, you can go in there and identify those opportunities, or do a little historical research. So Cali Procure, and you can go in and find existing leveraged procurement agreements. Okay, so similar to searching for active solicitations, you can go into the contract type. You would just choose the different types of LPA that you may have an interest in, or the acquisition type. If you, depending upon what service you provide, IT service, IT good, non-IT service, non-IT good. If you sell, paper products, that's a non-IT good. All right. So you could look at acquisition type and see what kind of LPAs may be in existence for you. Okay. Any questions on LPAs? Oh, you're muted. Sorry, Tracy.
We have one question from our viewers. Is there a particular route that you recommend for healthcare professionals as a consultant?
Schedule a one-on-one consultation. We'll go that route. I don't want to get into details providing individual advice. So yeah, schedule a one-on-one consultation. I have a QR at the end of the slides, and you can schedule a one-on-one with me or one of my coworkers, and we can give you some one-on-one guidance.
We appreciate it. No other questions.
All right. All right, I got to be quick here through this because we have another presenter. So solicitation formats. So now we've talked about acquisition methods. Now the formats. These are often going to be driven by that the acquisition type. So the format of a solicitation is influenced by the acquisition type. That's the biggest influence probably, and method, and which we just talked about. Dollar amount. Low dollar amount. It's going to make the solicitation format, the complexity, risk factors, all kind of different things are going to contribute to that solicitation format. Okay, let's just get through these here. So an RFQ these are generally for straightforward purchases that have low risk, used to conduct informal competitive acquisitions. An RFQ is identifies what is needed or requests a proposed solution and tends to be very low risk and complexity. So they're very simple to explain. Generally, the dollar threshold is going to be under $100,000. You do see IT goods, IT services, non-IT goods. You don't see non-IT services in an RFQ. Okay. Invitation for bid. Excuse me. Invitation for bid is a written solicitation used to get bids or responses for non-IT goods or for IT goods and IT services. So basically, suppliers are asked to provide a bid to the states, to the state that's known and detailed and clear. It's got clear requirements. An invitation bid is also used to obtain simple, common, routine IT services that may require personal and mechanical skills where little discretion is used when doing work. So, equipment maintenance, pest control, uniform rentals. So, very simple purchases. The agency knows exactly what they want. They just need a bid. Okay. The statement of work is usually very, very detailed and provides all the information, all the details that you need to make a good response. Typically, it's a low cost award as well. Now, RFPs are going to be used for obtaining more complex services. And there's going to be a bit of an evaluation process. And so RFPs exist in like a primary RFP or a secondary RFP. Primary RFPs, typically they requires varying methods or approaches, but nothing that is very innovative or creative. The methods and approaches used by the vendors may not differ significantly from one proposer to another. And the statement of work is fairly well defined in terms of the services or functions that must be performed. Timeframes are pretty well spelled out. So the award is to the responsible proposer offering typically the lowest cost for its services. So statement of work is going to be fairly well defined in an RFP. Secondary RFP typically going to be best value. And when it's a complex or very distinct, unique type of service. So professional expertise and discretion is definitely allowed in secondary RFPs. Unique and innovative solutions are going to be applied. So the approaches and methods may vary greatly. So a statement of work is not going to be very well defined, but it may only contain the goals and objectives of the agency, what they are trying to accomplish with this RFP, and it will be incumbent upon you as a vendor to kind of figure it out. It's the means to the end is what you've got to provide. Examples could be like a PR or advertising or a research project, whatever the case may be. So something very takes a lot of discretion on your part. And again, those are going to be typically a best value where you get points scored based on your approach. And RFO are typically for being purchased or purchasing against an LPA. So the contracting officer looks at the LPAs, who's part of it. Let's provide an offer. Could be competitive, could be not competitive, depends on the LPA. So that is a request for offer. And any questions on solicitation formats, Tracey?
We have no questions.
All right. And I did reference many times scheduling a consultation. Here's your chance. Grab your phone, take a quick picture of the consultation QR code there. Or if you go to DGS website, you could go to how to do business and do a search for how to do business on the DGS website. And there you will also find the opportunity to schedule a consultation with myself or one of my coworkers, other events that are upcoming that we participate in, that we encourage you to take advantage of. Another QR for you. Thanks for participating. Again, my contact information. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tracey. Thank you very much for participating, everyone.
Thank you, Chad. We appreciate you. Hopefully we'll see you in October at our 14th annual small business event. Thank you everyone for your questions. Now I'd like to introduce Keyshawn Cupid, a DVBE business owner, consultant, and author whose work has transformed the landscape of leadership and continuous improvement. With over 25 years of experience, Keyshawn has dedicated his career to empowering teams and organizations across multiple sectors, from U.S. military to corporate America to education or social services, by identifying innovative solutions and fostering sustainable growth. Keyshawn has published 2 books, one, Making the Transition, Inward Mindset to Outward Mindset, and The Synergy Mindset. Both of those titles sound like something we need to be reading right about now. Keyshawn, welcome to this episode of Ops for Vets.
Good morning, Tracy. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here today. Chad, a lot of information that you just presented. Just to let you know, I just scheduled a meeting with you on the 20th next week. So I jumped on it as soon as it was available, right? I can never have enough information. So I know I have some limited time today, and what I want to be able to do is to take this time to tell you a little bit about myself and my organization and what we are going to be doing and accomplishing what we have accomplished and what we are planning on doing in the near future. All right, Daniel, whenever you're ready, we're good to go with the slides. I just have some background slides that I will be sharing, but I will be highlighting the key points.
Okay, so while Daniel's loading that for you, um, can you can you tell us when you served, how long you served, and what military branch?
Oh yeah, so that's pretty easy. So I joined the Navy back in 2000 in a right age, 17 years old, jumped right into it. The best service, obviously, right? Got an opportunity to serve on board multiple aircraft carriers and was first introduced to my type of, what has become my core business, Lean Six Sigma, while in the US Navy back in 2003 when it was first introduced to make the military more efficient. Right. So I've started there, and now we have, worked forward and transformed this into a business. Right. So even though I have about 25 plus years of experience in consultation, development, outreach, I actually started Modern Kaizen, back in 2019 in April. So I'm coming up on my anniversary. Right. And I started this business with the goal of solving one key problem. And that
What's the
problem
problem?
actually, well, the problem was, how do I help businesses eliminate inefficiencies and also optimize their operation through what we call continuous improvement? But I wanted to leverage technology, I wanted to leverage people development, I want to leverage process control. So that's what the name Modern Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese word to continuously improve oneself. And modern, we use modern tools, right? So we use tools that are here today to build upon improvement, right? As we know, the government, businesses, different sector, right? They struggle with outdated processes, right? Slow decision making and missed opportunities. All of these had led to what we call inefficiencies. So we developed these solutions to be able to not only bridge the gap, but empower businesses and employees. But we want to focus on developing high performance teams. And that's where you highlighted earlier, one of my books, it's called The Synergy Mindset. It's where, the formula is the output of two or more is always going to exceed an individual plus an individual, right? So by having
Okay.
that synergy, we build upon each other. And that's what we have done and leveraged over the past 5 years as an organization.
Are there
So
particular
go ahead.
are there particular industries that would benefit the most from that type of consulting to build synergy?
Oh, definitely. So every industry benefits from this, right? As we had contracts with the Department of Veterans Affairs where we actually teach them synergy mindset, we teach them outward mindset. We work with hospitals, we work with banks, we work with manufacturing industries, right, to optimize, and that's the key word, because it falls back to our mission statement, which is to empower businesses by integrating AI, integrating process automation, and developing that workforce. But we want to make sure that we have measurable, quantifiable success that we can go back to and look at to make sure that what we are doing is the right thing.
That
So,
you said a mouthful.
oh, definitely, definitely. So, some of our core area of expertise, all right, is workforce development, workforce training. We have leveraged and worked with the state of California to provide low cost to no cost, I said low to no cost training to organizations within California, right? Because the goal is to keep businesses in California. We have also leveraged our platform to find teaming partners to be able to work with them to bid on contracts, to win contracts where As a single entity, it was going to be twice as hard, three times as hard, right? And one of the great things that we have now starting to do is we have gotten to blockchain. And I'm not talking just cryptocurrency, I'm talking about blockchain in our supply chain process, right? So we are revolutionizing the supply chain transactions through blockchains. So now companies can see every transaction within that organization in real time, right? And it eliminates the need for, did you do it? Is it done? It actually has to be done in real time, and you get that information.
Wow. So how can someone connect with you, Keyshawn? Let's say they know that their business is doing okay, but improving team dynamics, getting some synergy going, increasing efficiency. If they just kind of know that that would help, how do they reach out to you?
Well, as my name is Cupid, so February the 14th is the only day you can't find me, right? I'm busy trying to save the world with love. But for the remaining time, yeah, you can reach out to me, connect me through my email, which is Keyshawn Cupid at Modern Kaizen, and it will be on the screen. Keyshawn Cupid at modernkaizen.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Keyshawn Cupid, or Modern Kaizen, or go to our website and you can connect with us from there. Something that I did years ago, which I find myself, always still using it, is that I've created an email address on every popular platform, Keyshawn Cupid at, so whatever jumps to your mind, and it all comes to my phone, right? It all streamlines through my phone, so I see everything. So whether it be Gmail, whether it be Yahoo, whether it be AOL, Hotmail, it's there, right? We want to make sure that we don't have any missed opportunity, right? Missed opportunity to be able to, go out and get the next available thing, right? As we are moving right now, I'll give you an example. As we are moving right now, in a moment of a little bit of uncertainty, right? Like I had myself contracts terminated within the last week, all right? But what that allowed me to do is not just move everything into one portfolio, I have to be able to diverse my business, right? We learned the lessons years ago in the start, right? Not only focus on federal government, not only focus on state or local, right? We have to be a part of multiple different source. Let's call it the source of work, right? Or the source of income. So we can make sure that in this market, we want to make sure we have that elasticity, the ability to bounce back. And that's what Modern Kaizen does as we interact with our partners and interact with our customers and clients.
Thank you, Keyshawn, for joining us today. For all of our attendees who are in need of his services, please reach out to him. I know that you guys have already done exactly what Keyshawn did and signed up for your one-on-one with DGS. Chad's QR code was there. We need to take advantage of all of that. Now, before we go, I have a few items on my list that I want to remind you about. The 14th annual small business event is October 16th this year. And the DGS Clinic is a part of that event. We'd like to see you guys register for that. So feel free to visit the Southwest Veterans Business Resource Center website. That's swvbrc.org, and go ahead and get registered for that event. That's the first item I wanted to share with you guys. I want to share this next item with you. We have a new show coming out. It's called Just the Facts, Ma'am. And my guest on that show is Jane Babcock. You guys met Jane on the last episode. She's a veterans benefit educator, and we are going to talk about everything related to veterans benefits. That show is for everyone. I'll say that again. That show is for everyone. It is not just for veterans, not just for veteran spouses or veterans dependents. All of us need our veterans to be aware of their benefits, to be taking advantage of their benefits, and for pulling those benefits into the California economy. I'm going to say that again, pulling those benefits into our economy. So join us for that show. The first episode is going to be March 27th. And then the last note that I have is I'd like to invite anyone who's interested in being a lifetime member of the Ops for Vets show to reach out to us. We have lifetime memberships, and one of the benefits is you get to be featured at the end of one of our episodes, like Keyshawn and like Jane. If you are looking for an interesting and dynamic way to advertise your business or to market it, reach out to us. We'd like to help you with that. Again, thanks, Chad. Thanks, Keyshawn. And thanks to everybody helping me in the background. I'll say a few hellos to people that logged on today before I go. Hi, Myra. Nice to see you from Lionson Construction. Hi, Anayo from California Engineering and Shot Creek Inc. Hello, Anthony from Keepers Keep Assistant Services. And hello, Samson from Empiric. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you the next time. Ops for Vets. Have a prosperous week, everybody.